Greetings, boxing fans. This is Scott Knipe here. Welcome to another exclusive interview brought to you by Real Combat Media Radio. Chris Guns from Real Combat Media Radio had the privilege to sit down with world title challenger and heavyweight contender Fres Oquendo. Fres spoke about his life before boxing, his amateur experience, his professional career, and so much more. Fres fought Evander Holyfield, James Toney, Clifford Etienne, Chris Bird, John Ruiz, and a host of other great fighters. Real Combat Media Radio would like to thank Mr. Oquendo for taking of his valuable time to share of his extraordinary boxing experience.
I was born in Rio Piedras, Puerto Rico.
And how old were you when you came to this side of off the island?
Side of the pond. Yeah, this side of the Caribbean. I came back in when I was a year old.
A year? And where'd you go to? Where'd you move?
Chi-Town, Windy City.
And what kind of house did you grow up in? What was in it?
It was pretty rough, urban, the housing projects.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty urban. Very, very. How could I say? Like any other neighborhood. That's rough, gangs, drugs, however you want to call that. The ghetto,
Mm-hmm. Did you have brothers or sisters? Mother, father?
Yeah, yes. A mom, was a beautiful mom that raised 3 beautiful young men and a little sister. Raised a nice little woman. And today and age, we're pretty successful, and that's why a lot of people can relate to me and my family and the kids in general, the youth, which is why I have my not-for-profit boxing academy, which is reaching out to the youth. And been through the struggles like every kid in the hood.
What kind of kid were you?
I was pretty, young. I was pretty to myself. I really didn't bother people. Started boxing at the age of 13, so that pretty much, showed me how to say no to gangs and drugs, and just stay positive in the Chicago housing projects, which is very harsh back in the late 80s, early 90s, and for me to survive that, I pretty much, passed the test of surviving the ghetto,
Yeah. Who got you into boxing?
Oh, my older brother, Hector, who's today in age, my legal counsel for my not-for-profit, and he's an attorney, the first in the family to be an attorney, and Hector Morales.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And you started at 13. Were you good right away?
Well, my dad made fun of me. My first amateur fight back when I was 13 years old. When I was fighting, I was throwing hammer shots. He said I was not punching straight, but I was knocking down walls, with my both hands. It was kind of funny. So I guess, back then I was known that I had a lot of heart and pretty tough. So then all that just blended out with my skills.
And what was your total amateur record when you were done?
Oh, when I was done, I was 98 and 9 with 98 and 8 with I was known as a puncher, 38 knockouts, something like that. Just 98 and 8 as an amateur.
Yeah. You won the 1990 178-pound Golden Gloves champion?
Yes, 178 and 92. I won the 178. 93, I won the heavyweight division. In 94, I skipped it. 95, I won the heavyweight division. Actually 91.
Mm-hmm. Did you fight anybody in the amateurs that we would know? I'm sure you did.
Oh yeah, I fought some notable in the Olympic trials. I fought Antonio Tarver. Lost to him in the quarterfinals in 1992. Olympic trials at that time, he was 23, I was 17, and I told him one day I'll be big enough and I'll get you. And I ended up outgoing him, a heavyweight, He's a cruiserweight today in age. It's kind of interesting. We're still in the game, and for him to be 40, whatever he is, and I'm in my late 30s. It's due to good health and taking care of our bodies.
Yeah, maybe you could have a rematch.
Oh yeah, you never know.
You never know.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Yeah. So, when did you decide you were going to turn pro, and how come? How come at that point in your life did you turn pro?
Turned pro in 1997. After I won the national gold medal, had a highly touted amateur career. I decided, that boxing not only taught me to say no to gangs and drugs, is a sport that I developed a lot of love for and a lot of talent.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to make it my profession.
Yeah. And who would you turn pro against? You remember his name and how?
Yeah, Mark Johnson. Mark Johnson. Knocked him on the third round in Illinois, the Chicagoland area.
Yeah. And then you just kept winning, and then you ended up fighting Louis Monaco in, I think, your 10th pro fight.
I fought the bigger. Yeah, Louis Monaco, Phil Jackson, and just to name a few, Smoking Burks, Cooper. That time was just dangerous. Yeah, so I fought some killers. They never, how they say, gold spoon fed. They put me with the monsters, like the Olympic silver medal, Duncan Duckworthy, at the time was a highly touted prospect. That they threw me to the wolves. I think I survived.
Yeah. When you first fought Monaco, were you surprised by how strong he was at that stage? You only had 10 fights. Was he?
No, not really. Again, I came from the streets. I came from, poverty. I fought grown men when I was a young kid, and I fought hard punches. But one thing I learned is, don't fear no one. Once that bell rings, you can be strong, bigger, but there's always a way to win. And I have the will to win, so that was the difference.
Mm-hmm. And then you fought Duncan Duckworthy. And what did you think?
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember about that fight?
Oh, very strong. The kid hit so hard, he put a big old knot in my forehead. I got that picture when I took a picture with Mike Tyson in his undercard. And he fought Francois Botha. I fought right after Mike Tyson knocked out Botha.
Mm-hmm.
And here I go find this big 6'6" Mr. Olympian physique like Olympia, who was a 10-1 favorite to knock me out. Not only did I beat him, I knocked him down twice and got 6 rounds.
Mm-hmm. How'd you feel going out to that fight with that big audience there? Were you nervous?
It was a great experience. Again, in the amateurs, I fought in big arenas like the All-State Arena in Chicago. I fought there for the Nationals. I fought in the Chicago Park District at the International Amphitheater, where a lot of old school fighters fought back in the 70s, and I fought a couple of my amateur fights. So I've been accustomed to fighting a large audience at a young age.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Then you fought the really experienced Bigfoot Martin. What do you remember about that guy?
Oh, wow, Bigfoot Martin. Boy, that dude was always known to have a granite chin and, very dangerous, former light heavyweight contender, and he moved up to the heavyweight division. And I remember one day, he was hitting this guy when I was fighting him in Vegas. I was like, holy cow. I thought I broke my hand when I put my knuckle in his forehead, but then I hit him underneath with an uppercut, and I knocked him down for the first time. I still got that tape today in age. I was one of the only fighters to knock down ever Bigfoot Martin clean with an uppercut.
Yeah. And then,
but,
you fought Phil Jackson. Didn't he fight Lennox Lewis?
Yeah. Just after he finished fighting for the champ, I fought him a couple of fights later.
Yeah.
And he presented a hard, stiff test, and as you can see, I dominated him in world-class fashion, and that got me to the world ranking.
Yeah. Did you
at a young age?
Yeah. Did you feel any difference in there with Phil Jackson than you did prior to with anyone?
Yeah, I had to stock it up a little bit because Phil Jackson was a world-class heavyweight top 10 contender at the time, and I was just up-and-coming prospect, and I had to put a lot of energy, exert a lot of energy, and I was able to not only outpoint him, out-punch him and out-slick him.
In your next fight after that, you fought Bert Cooper. You saw Bert Cooper take Tyson's spot and fight Holyfield when Tyson went to jail and stuff. Gave Holyfield a good fight. What did you think when you were going to be fighting Bert Cooper?
I was like, holy cow, find this guy who was seconds away from being the undisputed champion against Holyfield. a couple of years ago, and here I am fighting again another dangerous fighter, back to back to back, and I'm coming up with a great, spectacular victory on my first championship, my first IBC heavyweight title.
Mm-hmm. And how'd you feel when you won that title?
I felt great, knowing that I was a champion in the 90s, late 90s, going to the 2000s, so I'm honestly happy to say that I've won, two prestigious titles in 3 decades to this day. The 90s, the 2000 and the 2010 era.
Mm-hmm. And then you had a wild fight with Ramon Garbe.
Oh, yeah.
What do you remember about that fight?
Former Olympian, very tough. And winner of that, get a big shot at the former heavyweight, and at that moment was the next show, Frazier, the Black Rhino, and I came up victorious, thank God, with a nice little knockdown, dominant performance, and I had Felix Trinidad, seen as one of my trainer motivators at the time, and that gave me a lot of confidence, and I was able to pull it off and get to my biggest stage, which is the Black Rhino on national TV, Showtime.
Yeah, was that your first fight with Don Trinidad?
No, that was my third fight at the time.
Yeah. What'd you learn from him?
A lot of confidence, conditioning, sharpen up my techniques, stand more with my power, knowing that I'm a boxer, but be more set to throw more power, and I learned that from him.
Yeah, I remember that ATN fight. Every time you hit him on top of the head, it would look like you pressed a button on it, and he just Did it feel like that?
Right. Oh man, yeah, because Brewster, he fought punches after Brewster, Twin Kaiser, Tyson Kaiser, whatever that guy's name, and Claybay. At that time those guys were hard punches, and I was the only one able to, have the most knockdown in a heavyweight fight.
Yeah. Went to a boxing match and a basketball game broke out. You just played ball with him.
Yeah, right. That's right. That's a good one.
Yeah, man. Then you fought for the NABF title against Obed Sullivan.
Yeah, my former sparring partner. Actually, I was one of his sparring partners when he was getting ready for Hakeem Rockman. And I'm fighting one of my former stablemate, and he's a tough guy. And it took me a couple of rounds to chop him down until that spectacular 11th round knockout that I came, behind from, and won that prestigious title.
Mm-hmm. And how'd you feel at that point in your career beating Obed Sullivan? Did you feel like you were ready for anybody?
Oh yeah, that time I was ready for the world. Yep, ready for the heavyweight champs at that time, which was at the time I believe Chris Bird, C. Rockman, any of those guys, John Ruiz.
Then after the Sullivan fight, you fought David Izon. What do you remember about that? I was surprised how fast you.
Oh yeah.
Fast.
Yeah, because Izon was known as a granite chin. He come back from behind and knock out tough guys like Derek Jefferson, just to name a few, on HBO. And man, it was just a great victory, knowing that I was up and coming and on national, world HBO World Heavyweight Championship boxing, and to stop him in that spectacular fashion, only a couple of rounds, was great for my resume.
Yeah. You're not nervous at all fighting on HBO for the first time or anything?
No, because like I said again, I started fighting a lot of network TV. I started on Fox Sports with America Presents, so. America Presents, I ended up working up with Don King, Lou DiBella, and goes on, and the list goes on and on.
Mm-hmm. And then you fought David Tua. What do you remember about that fight?
Oh man, it was one of my greatest spectacular performances. Unfortunately, it's one round away from being the next heavyweight challenger to Lennox Lewis, and got a little bit too inexperienced and started slugging with a punch, and he caught me with overhand right. And I thought it was a premature stop. They should have gave me an 8 count, but I could have taken a knee and recovered. But it was a learning experience, and I'm glad that I fought one of the hardest punches in boxing that couldn't knock me down or knock me out, which he did with Michael Moore, John Ruiz, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm. And when you first felt this power, did you feel any power that you never felt before, or did he just catch you and maybe with a punch you didn't see?
Yeah, that's what it was. You know, a punch I didn't see, and you know, I was hit hard when I fought the Duncan Duck Warrior, which I told you put a big old knot on my forehead. That's how hard he punched, and you know, throughout my career, I always fought harder punches, you know, hard punches, but I do great against sluggers, as you can see.
Yeah. So how'd you feel after losing for the first time, though? Did you feel?
Oh yeah, I was devastated. You know, I mean, it just all the hard work that I plunged and heartaches and pain, and for me to come up just slightly short of a fight that I dominated every round, every second of the fight, and just to give it away like that, it's just heartbreaking. But it taught me a lot of character, taught me to regroup, and here I am today, still one of the most dominant heavyweights in, you know, in the top 10, and I'm still making it.
That's right, Chris. That's right, man. How about your next fight after that? You came back after that and you fought George Arias. Arias?
Yeah, Arias from he was the Brazil, you know, the Brazilian heavyweight champ or something like that, South American, whatever. And yeah, it was a tough cookie. Went the distance with a lot of top fighters at the time, and I was one of the only ones to stop him.
Yeah. How'd you feel winning the Fed Latin heavyweight title?
Oh yeah, I feel great because that's a pretty prestigious honor to have. You know, to be the WBA Fed Latin title, which May 25th, in a week and a half from today, I'm getting ready to fight for my old title, put me right back in that position.
Yep. And then after that, you fought Maurice Harris, slick guy. You remember about that?
Oh yeah, very talented. Harris, very talented.
Yeah.
He had a nice jab, reach, but I neutralized it with my unorthodox skills and speed, and sooner or later chopped him down and knocked him out.
And were you surprised at all fighting a guy with that record, or did you already hear the stories that he was better than his record indicated?
Oh, I knew him. Didn't have to tell me. I knew from experience, from seeing him fight like Chris Bird, Larry Holmes. I mean, he dominated a lot of big men. The Jimmy Thunders, you know, how he knocked these guys out. They were supposed to be underdogs, and they did great.
Yeah.
So I didn't take him lightly.
And then you fought Chris Bird next. So you got one slick guy, you got past him, and then you fought Chris Bird. So did it prepare you for Chris Bird at all?
Yeah, oh yeah, another slick guy that I was, you know, probably say the first fight was pretty much, I'll punch Bird, but I'll slick Bird and you know, and knock him down and pretty much clear cut win that heavyweight title, a prestigious title, and going to take it from me that way, which is black out of boxing.
Yeah. What did Chris Bird say to you after that decision was read?
Before even the decision, he was like, man, you know, please give me a rematch, you know. You know, I gave you a shot, give me a... I said, no problem, I'll give you a rematch. And then after that, you know, he thought he lost the title. I mean, you know, everybody knew I won it. But, again, you know, Don King, the politics, and gave boxing a black eye, you know, the fight.
Yeah. I remember the HBO guys even talking about how it was a robbery.
So right, Jim Mankley, even George Foreman.
Yeah. How's it feel to be robbed like that, man? You go away and you do your training and you're thinking about how you...
it's horrible, man. Horrible, because, you know, you train so hard and you got your kids, you know, there, which they showed my HBO and the motivate. This is what I sacrificed all my life, and then for them to take it away, it was just heartbreaking. But, again, it just strengthened my character in me. And here I am today, very healthy, got my healthy kids, and just keeping it moving.
Yeah. Then your next fight, you got a shot at the WBA title held by John Ruiz. You're fighting at Madison Square Garden. What's it feel like to be fighting at Madison Square?
Oh, it was a great honor. It's just unfortunate that I was put in a situation where, you know, I thought I was going to fight a rematch with Chris Bird, and I came through a little monkey wrench and then had me train for a fight that, you know, I had no reason to, because, you know, I was wanting to fight my rematch with Bird, and at that fight I had Lester Trinidad senior, retired, so my training method, everything was all kind of messed up, and he ended up putting one of his former advisor, Pepe Ramos, who was my manager at the time, and he pretty much I had a terrible training camp. As you can see, my skill wasn't up to par, you know, after that Bird fight. You didn't see, you know, the fast spread that you see today due to, you know, my mentality wasn't there.
Mm-hmm. It's a mental game, man. If you ain't there, you're not gonna fight so good, you know. It's true. So
Yeah.
It was the first time two Puerto Ricans fought for the heavyweight title. Did you feel was there any like media attention training for that fight that caused you not to be able to train so good?
Yeah, no, I don't blame nobody for myself, knowing that I'm not 100% mentally there, and the finances weren't like they were supposed to. But again, I'm a fighter. I worked very hard, and there's an opportunity, and unfortunately, I should have got way more prepared like I did for the Chris Bird against Ruiz. I took him a little lightly, and I knew he wasn't that skillful as a Chris Bird, and I underestimated my opponent once again, and I learned not to ever do that with anyone after that fight with Ruiz.
Yeah. Then you went away after the Ruiz fight for like almost 2 years. What were you doing in all that time, man?
Oh, yeah, I ended up in that fight with Ruiz. I ended up playing with a torn labrum on my left arm, which a lot of people didn't know that, and nerve damage, and I still was able to, kind of punch Ruiz in that fight. And I had surgery after the fight, tore labrum, successful surgery, and I let my body heal up for a couple of years, and until I got back in the game with Lou DiBella.
And what do you think of Lou? Lou's known to be honest, more so.
Yeah, he's all right. I mean, promoters, they're all for themselves. At the end of the day, they don't care about me and my kids, my family. Unlike my family, but it's business, and I had a pretty good experience, and it was okay. But again, promoters, they're all for themselves.
Nah, I guess everybody is. But then you came back after almost 2 years in surgery. How'd you feel in the ring in the first fight? Back after
when I fought
Daniel Bispo.
Yeah, Daniel Bispo. Yeah, tough lefty. Find a lefty for the first time in a couple of years since Dale Crow. I fought Dale Crow on Fox Sports back in the Chicagoland area. It was, I felt very rusty, but I ended up pulling it off and ended up getting my stoppage and. Getting my arm back ready. Remember I just had tore labrum, had a major surgery on my arm to resurrect my career. And I think my doctor pressed and wanted to saving my boxing career because he ended up reattaching my labrum, and here I am today. Still one of the best jabs in the game.
And that's right. Yeah, you do. And then you got by Javier Mora in your next fight, and that got you the Holyfield fight. How did you find out you had the fight with Holyfield? Who told you about it?
Oh, yeah. They put on a spectacular performance on national TV, again on Fox Sports. They had no choice but to give me the noteworthy opponent in Holyfield, my first pay-per-view fight. And it was against one of the all-time greats. And, man, it was a great show. And I trained very hard. Unfortunately, that week of the fight, I ended up getting strep throat and got a little sick. The doctors recommended me at UCLA Medical staff to cancel the fight because of the notoriety and the bigger this fight, the intensity and the finance, everything that was put upon this fight. I ended up gambling again, pure pressure, and I ended up thinking I pulled it off. I pulled it on, but again, I was fighting against in his hometown his promoters and ended up getting the edge and fight that. Even the San Antonio Express, Tribune, Daily News had me up, and he ended up getting a controversial win.
How do you feel when you're thinking about yourself? You're going to be in the ring fighting this guy who you saw since you were little. Were you nervous for that fight at all?
Well, a little bit, but once that bell ring again, it's like fighting Tyson or fighting on the shores, those big guys. You just in there. Doing the thing you love, your passion.
Nah. Did he say anything to you after the decision? Did you?
Yeah, I really didn't get an opportunity because I was so. I kind of told him, I thought, they should have gave it to me, but I just walked right off that ring. I was just so disgusted with the sport at the time, and I just didn't even give nobody an interview. I just walked right off the ring, so I didn't give Sean O'Grady a chance to interview me, or Rick Murata. I ended up just walking off.
Yeah, so that's the third big fight, you didn't get the decision there. Actually, one time you got stopped, but that's even a bad stoppage, you know?
Yeah, it was controversial. The whole world, I didn't, I mean, it's a world heavyweight championship. I mean, that knocked me down. I mean, me and my liquid ribbon was slightly off. It wasn't like when I fought David Tua. And it just, it was bad. It was a bad, controversial stoppage.
Mm-hmm. And where are you mentally after the Holyfield fight, after you feel like you won and got robbed again? And do you think you might have fought for the last time? Do you think about giving up?
No, not at that time, because it wasn't like a fight that I got dominated or got beat up real bad. So it was a situation like that, yes, I would have been thinking that. But because I didn't, well, hold on, I was saying, you see how he plays? Like, what a dirty player. I'm sorry, they're showing the Lakers and the Oklahoma City and Ron Test, still cut though. He ended up hitting one of the guys, Harden, the guy he knocked out the elbow. They both fell, and he didn't even got charged with a foul. I was shocked. But anyway, back to the question. I'm a full basketball fanatic, man. I grew up, of course, in the Jordan era, Chi-Town. But that fight, of course, it made me very, very disgusted with the sport. And if anything, it just, I just went and got a little rest and knew that I had to regroup and start doing it my way. Stop fighting in these fighters' hometown and get these hometown decisions, and I just got fed up.
Then you came back and you fought Damian Norris, and then in your next fight after that you fought Eliezer Castillo.
Oh, tough guy, Eliezer Castillo, man. ESPN, very tough. He knocked out Trey Baco. He knocked out a lot of, Corey Sanders. Knocked out a lot of tough guys, just to name a few. And for me going there in 130-degree weather in Miami, like July, no AC. The weather, after the fight, I was supposed to take a urine test. It took me literally over 4 hours to finally have a urine test, take my test to submit it to the commission, because I was just so depleted that, from the weather with Castillo, it was so hard. And again, I tore my other labrum on my right arm this time and my bicep in that fight with Castillo, which had a granite chin, and I just, pulled it off with a lot of will and guts and glory.
Yeah, it's hard to fight through injuries, but you got to do it a lot.
Yeah, man, I don't wear and tear, but thank God I'm more in a holistic, health and wellness state. I put everything right in my body. I drink the alkaline water, drink everything to the tea that's right for my body, and man, I think to putting the right stuff in my body, it heals on its own. I need to get no synthetic medication over the counter, stuff like Walgreens. I do everything holistic, natural.
You are what you eat. No doubt about it, man.
Yeah.
And then you fought James Toney a couple fights after the Castillo fight. What do you remember about James Toney?
Fight that. Yeah, I gave him the biggest beating out of his career. Just shocking. Watching this fight, I was like, look at something. He dominated Holyfield, dominated John Ruiz, dominated Hakeem Rock. The list goes on and on. And I was the least out of all those heavyweights, former champions, to not only get in there to hang with him, but I dominated him, and they just, again, fighting his hometown, goosing to his promotion, and they took it away from me, split decision, again, another controversy, and they took a point away from me, which is kind of funny, or a rabbit punch, and the way that Tony's fights, he's always flying to the right, so I had no choice to hit him with overhand right, but again, this is politics, and I'm learning a hard lesson once again, back in 08.
Did you see anything from Tony that made you see what people say about him, or did you just?
He was good, but I just neutralized his way of playing. For a simple player, I had a higher reach, and I got experience, and I fought the best, and my style just threw him off. My own orthodoxness, and my slickness, and my speed, my youth, and that was the difference. So I really didn't get too impressed with what Tony had, what he did to his former champion, because he didn't do it to me.
No. And your heart's still totally in the game after James Toney? I know you're mad about losing the split decision. You feel?
Yeah. And, you know, again, these heartbreaking loss, it's just like a black guy in boxing, and, you know, but God willing, you know, he always has something in store for me. And again, I'm a man of will, and I know it's hard. Normally people just quit and send boxing to hell and this and that, but I just kept on moving, man. I said, let me go back to the drawing board and let me make it right.
Yeah. Yeah. A couple fights after that, you came back and you fought Bruce Seldon. What do you remember about Bruce?
Yeah, former heavyweight champion, you know, beat Tony Tucker and fought the infamous Mike Tyson where Tupac got murdered.
Yeah.
And, you know, it was pretty historic fight. You know, big, strong.
Nice jab.
Yeah, good jabber, and, you know, still strong, still physique, and again, I came up victorious, you know, fighting my hometown for the first time in years, and with a knockout.
That's it. Pleasing the hometown crowd.
Oh, yeah, it was a lot of energy.
Yeah.
It fuels me positive.
Mm-hmm. How about the Demetrius King fight? Fighting for the USBA and ABA heavyweight titles.
Oh, yeah, prestigious titles. Yeah, very tough guy. I mean, a lot of people didn't want to fight him. You know, he just finished knocking out this prospect by the name of Tupe, a New Zealand guy, like David Stewart.
I remember.
Boy Tupu, yeah, he knocked him out in 1 or 2 rounds. He knocked out Romain Stavorin, so he was on the roll, you know. Romain Stavorin is top like 3 right now.
Yeah.
So this guy was knocking out all these prospects. Here I come. It's just something that a lot of his opponents couldn't do. Knock him out.
That's it. The big guy.
Oh, like Mike Tyson, tank, but I chopped him on the side.
Yeah, that's it. And then you fought the former cruiserweight champ, Jean-Marc Mormec. What do you think of that?
Yeah, it was a joke. You know, I knew I had to knock him out to get the decision because, again, I'm fighting his hometown.
Hey.
Again, ESPN, you know, robbery of the year, beat him almost every round, and the only thing else, you know, that slipped away from me is a knockout because I had him hurt in the 8th and the 3rd round, and, you know, when the referee pulled him off, so he could recuperate, and there I go again, you know, in the hometown robbery of the year.
Yeah. And how do they treat you in France when you go there?
They treated me real well, you know, like a sports icon, and a lot of respect, and beautiful country. You know, I went to the Eiffel Tower. It was a very great experience. Yeah,
everything's good except the decision.
Yeah, it was beautiful, but other than the decision, yeah.
So nothing good or impressive about Mormec at all?
Zero, negative. Nah, it was like a sparring session.
That's horrible, man. Horrible to go get robbed every time you.
Yeah, man. But I know God's got something in store for me.
Yeah, I think He does. He got something coming up, so hopefully it starts now.
Yeah, exactly. God willing.
How about fighting Oliver McCall? Knocked out Lennox Lewis a few years before that.
Yeah, another guy. You know, went to his home backyard. You know, he's from Florida. He's promoters. What was that? Heavyweight Factory, and again, you know, a fight that a fight that I invested all my money just to get Oliver McCall back in the ring and have a prestigious, you know, fight on my record. But again, you know, I deal with these cutthroat promoters. They got the best of me, and at the end of the day, the world's seen I dominated them, I appointed them, and here we go again, another robbery of the year. You know, I mean, McCall was in great shape, as always, good chin, and skillful wise, you can see. I don't know, have you seen it on YouTube yet? My fight with McCall?
Never did.
Yeah, you got to check it out. Yeah, I totally outboxed him, out speed him, and never got hit, and it's a disgrace to boxing. You got to check out my YouTube, so you can check out while I was in interview. So all you got to do is put Oliver McCall versus Oquendo.
I will.
And you'll see it.
I'll do it. I don't know why so many times do you get robbed? Do you have no manager?
It's a black cloud. It's a black cloud. No, I got, you know, good management. We just made bad mistakes, bad, decisions. But you know, we go up, we live and learn. So that's why I'm signing on the 25th. You know, on our terms, and Chicagoland City, and find a tough guy, Joey Abel, which is for the WBA Federal Latin title, the prestigious title that I had several years ago, and put me right back in the top 5. So, you know, I'm just one fight away from just maintaining for another shot.
And when do you do your training for Abel? Train in the morning?
And it's kind of interesting, I fought, all these other fighters said I'll fight anybody anywhere. I was the only heavyweight, to put on the record that went all over the country, all over their backyard, and did it and whooped them. There ain't no other heavyweight doing that today. All these Brian Jennings, Seth Mitchell, Riola, just name a few. But the good thing is, the promoters keep buying them wins, and they got good management, and good for them. But like I said, I learned from my mistakes, and that won't happen again.
Mm-hmm. And what do you expect to see from Joey Abel?
I expect him to be a strong, hillbilly like he normally is, power punching, good record, and come out firing like he normally do. But against a world class opponent like me, he can't go in there reckless, which is going to be a mistake. And sooner or later, I'm going to catch him, and it's going to be a wrap. God willing.
Mm-hmm. And how many different sparring partners are you using for Abel?
Using several for speed, several like quickly Olympian, amateur Olympian, and one from England. We're using Luis Ortiz, who's an up-and-coming Cuban prospect heavyweight. Mm-hmm. Pretty sure you've seen and heard of him before, mm-hmm. from Miami. Mm-hmm. And some other amateurs, just to name a few.
Mm-hmm. And what do you look forward to after the Abel fight, if you win?
After that fight, God willing, when I win, look to maintain until I get a title shot or a big fight with either Seth Mitchell or a Klitschko.
Mm-hmm. And which Klitschko would you prefer?
Either or. I sparred with the older brother retired last year. Got him ready for the Adamac fight. Out of all his sparring partners, he even admitted, I had fast combinations, and I gave him a black eye, which I have proof to show it with the picture. But very gentleman, guy for the game, which is good for boxing. So he got my respect. But once it's time to get in the ring and duke it up, it's a different world.
Yeah. So who's the best you ever fought? Hardest fight you ever had in your career?
The hardest fight I ever had in my career? I gotta go with, believe it or not, it was a tough one, because he even got me in a couple of, I say with the black rhino man, because he got up, he just kept on coming, storm like Joe Frazier, so it's one of the fights I had to suck it up, and Castillo. Alexis Castillo fighting in 104-degree weather in late July, in front of all his henchmen, all his countrymen, Cubans, and for me to dominate and pull it out, he just kept coming, and it was hard work for me. That was a tough fight.
Yeah. Appreciate your time, Frez. Good luck to you on May 25th against Joey Abel. We'll be watching.
Thank you.